Selamat pagi semuanya. Masih pagi ya? It's always morning ya. We're always fresh and always spirited. Okay? Always morning. Okay. Good morning everyone. Good morning. Udah makan? Belum. Okay. So thank you very much everyone for coming today. My name is Adre. I'm from the Binus Global. Do you know Binus Global? So that's the unit that can bring you abroad, because we are the one that's handling collaborations with universities outside Indonesia. And today we are very lucky because we have a professor from China. From which university? Siapa yang tahu? From which university? Ayo. Which university? What's the name of the university? Xiaoming Liverpool University. Bisa ngomongnya? Xiaoming Liverpool University. Okay. So we have a professor from Xiaoming Liverpool University. Where is Xiaoming Liverpool University? Liverpool. No. In China. Which part of China?
No, thank you.
Who says that Xiaoming Liverpool University is in Xi'an? Siapa yang bilang kalau Xiaoming itu adanya di Xi'an? Angkat tangan. Bukan? Now, Xiaoming Liverpool University, although the name is Xi'an, it's located in Suzhou. Do you know where Suzhou is? No, you find later in Google Maps, yeah? Why? Because soon, very soon, hopefully you will have the opportunity to study there. Because Binus is working on a partnership with them. Right now, it's still MOU. So put it in a layman's term, put it in a common term. Binus and Xiaoming are engaged. Kita masih tunangan. We're still engaged. We're not married yet. But very soon, hopefully, we are going to be partners. We're going to be married. So you can go there and spend one semester of your study in the campus. You can learn in China without any worries, because we have partners there. We have people that will be taking care of you there. And so, without further ado, because everyone's practically here, the seats are full, let me first introduce. First, we have Miss Helen. Miss Helen is the international officer from Xiaoming Liverpool University, and we also have Professor Xiaoming, and he will be the one that is going to give you the lecture. What is the lecture about? The secret of China economy. Yeah. So you know China. You know back then China about what kind of economy China had. But right now China is already a giant, very big dragon. So Professor Ting will be sharing about the secret. And keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, because that will be the thing that you will need to know. Okay, so without further ado, I will give the floor to Miss Helen.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming today. I'm so sorry we are a little bit late. As you all know, there's a traffic to blame. I will not blame myself. So what we are going to do is, I will show you a very short video of the university. So before you actually listen to a presentation of Professor Xiaoming, you will hear a video of our university. The video quality, I have to say, is not super, but you will be able to know something about our university. Then after the video, Professor Xiaoming will give the lecture. Then after the lecture, I will share with you the opportunities for studying at XJTLU. The opportunity include exchange opportunities, ability, a master, but you should be hear from me and you can ask us questions as well. So let's see a video first before we officially start. This is the overview of the campus. So I will show the map later about the university.
XJTIU is trying to blend the best practice of
This video
Eastern
actually was made by
Western
our student from the film department.
to explore how the university can serve the society in the community environment.
Xian Jiaotong, Liverpool University, though we don't refer to as XJTLU. I'm standing here on our North Campus with the central building behind me, which is an award-winning building that we're extremely proud of, as we are with the whole of our campus.
If you really want a vibrant place where everything is happening right now, then I think you should come to XJTLU.
It's international, really international. We are in China, which is a fantastic place to study.
If you want to be an engineer, if you want to be a scientist, if you want to do anything, this is the place you have to be. And Suzhou is one of the oldest cities in the world. There's been a city here since 541 before the birth of Christ. And unlike any other city in China, it's never moved. The reason, of course, is that the old city's on an island and it's covered by canals and bridges. Suzhou is, of course, the start of the Silk Road. Silk was invented here. Brocade was invented here. It went north to the rest of China and then into Europe along the Silk Road.
But also the city itself is very modern. There's clubs, there's bowling, there's restaurants, all really good prices as well, so you can't really complain with that.
Suzhou is the industrial hub of southern China and has many important cities in close proximity like Shanghai. You can actually get to Shanghai in 30 minutes and you can be in Beijing in 5 hours, which is located 1,500 kilometers away. So overall, I think Suzhou is the ideal place of studying and living.
We have a range of departments here at the university, numbers 13, and in terms of undergraduate degrees, we've got around 30 undergraduate and almost 30 postgraduate degrees. We have a number of students here from different backgrounds. We encourage cultural diversity, and the diversity of our student population is increasing year by year. Equally amongst our staff, we have around 30 different nationalities represented, all teaching English as the common language.
I could say that the main difference is it is really international. The fact that this mixing between Chinese teachers and other teachers is really exciting.
And it is so cool because we have so different people here, staff and students. They came from different countries. So for now, I have a friend who's from Malawi, and I never even heard about this country before I came here. And I have a professor who is from Madagascar. Again, it's so interesting to get familiar with people like that.
Very interesting and fun and creative. It's really diverse. There's lots of different teachers from all around the world, which is really interesting. You get a different feedback and perspective from the different points of where people are coming from.
I get to take classes with Chinese students. I get to join clubs with other Chinese students, and actually get to practice my Chinese and learn culture from them, youth culture especially, which is really fun.
They have a really wide business experience. They are not only academics, but they also have a job-wise experience around the world, which makes it really interesting to talk with them and to experience.
My supervisor also, many of them will support me, like if there is any problem with research or any other thing, they will help. In terms of faculty, we have really world-class faculty as well. So they come from top institutions. We've got people from Harvard, MIT, Stanford, Oxford, Cambridge, UCL, and they bring those standards with them. They know what top-class research looks like, and they want to replicate that kind of standard right here.
I would like to eventually have a job here working in Shanghai, and after that, I guess, move into a master's degree.
To meet our expectation of being a 15,000 strong, truly international university with unique features that make us stand out as an exceptional place to study in China.
Thoroughly recommend coming to Suzhou and XJTLU for any prospective students out there looking at this.
Welcome to XJTLU and welcome to China. I'm Kirsty and I'm the head of the international office here at XJTLU. We know, but coming
to China and moving to a new country can sometimes be a little bit daunting. That's why we're here to help. Before you arrive, we'll help you with your visa, your accommodation. We'll pick you up at the airport. After you've arrived, we'll help you settle in. We look forward to seeing you soon in Suzhou.
Okay, this is the end of the video. Again, this video is a bit old, and I will show you more detailed information of the university, including accommodation, arrival, the facilities, and what kind of programs we have. And now I will hand to Professor Xiaoming to tell you the secret of China economy, which I don't know as well.
Thanks to the University of Binus inviting us to give the guest lecture and also give us the opportunity to introduce the university to you. So when I was told that I will have the chance to give this talk to you, and I was thinking what kind of topic I'm going to talk to you. So I think about our students. What's our requirement to our students? We would like our students to have the international experience, okay? International exposures, and more importantly, the international visions. So I set this topic, the secret of the China economy, and growth drivers and impact. The reason is that I think for most of the, are you the undergrad students? Which year? Okay, so different years, as my understanding. So you must have already studied some economics already. I think it's better that you have the chance to see some real-world examples. For example, when we are talking about the economy of a country, how we are going to assess the economy of a country, and how are we going to assess whether the growth is sustainable. What are the impacts of the growth? So that's why I chose this topic. So I hope you will like this topic. For those students who haven't studied economics or studied light economics before, probably it's too much for you. But I will explain as simple as I can and make sure you understand. How many of you have been to this place? And can you recognize the place? Shanghai. So I can tell that some of you know about the place already. This is Suzhou. I guess probably 100% of you haven't been to the place. Okay. Let me give the example how this economy of the city is performing. Okay. Where are we? We're here. A small dot on the map. It's close to Shanghai, about 25 minutes high-speed train. And it's among 13 cities within a province. And of course in China there are about 35 provinces. So it's really a small dot in the country. Let's see how the basic statistics of this small, well, not small, a medium-sized city. Population, well, this data is a bit out of date. I have to convince that. Population, slightly more than the population of the Greater Jakarta area. Okay, more than 10,000, more than 10 million populations. Gross GDP, around 70% of the GDP of this city, the Great Jakarta area. GDP growth, normally higher than 10, usually 20%. These are the investments. So we can see that from a city, we can see it occupies the GDP of 1.5% of the whole country. So the country itself is really massive. And what we think are the drivers. Actually, this PPT slides is also from one of our modules, which is called the Chinese economy. So I'm just extracting some of the ideas from that module. We believe there are a couple of different drivers. For example, population. As you know, that the population of China is more than 1.4 billion. That's a huge driver for the economy. High savings. We tend to believe that for Asian countries, the saving rates are always high. Okay, there must be cultural reasons, but potentially that's one of the reasons why there is rapid growth and consistent growth. The role of the government. The role of Chinese government is a bit different with most of the governments among the world, and we'll see the difference. Adaptability of labor force, the movement of the labor force, the flexibility of the labor force, the movement between the rural areas to the cities, and the movement from the cities to the rural areas. So basically, we believe these are the four key drivers to the economy. Let's see the detailed analysis. Population. The population growth in 60s to 210, double the size. Okay. We believe this population increase is one of the key drivers, especially when the country went to 80s, which the openness policy was adopted. And the fast growth population become one of the important drivers. But we can also see that the trend is changing. The population increase is getting flat and flat, which means that in the future, possibly we will see the population decrease. That's also the fact. We can also have a look at this working age population comparing to the total population. We can see that the growth is also reaching zero in about 2020, which means that the population benefits, well, the benefit from the population to the growth is becoming zero in the future. So we need to identify the future drivers as well. This is also another plot of the working age of young people, 25 to 39, comparing to the less 15 and over 64. What did this mean? Basically, it means young people versus old people. And you can see that young people, the population is decreasing. The elder people, the total number is increasing, which means that the whole society is getting older. And it will have implications to the future development of the country. For example, what we can consider is that we need to develop the industry for the elder people. For example, health sector. Okay? That may be one of the directions for the future development. But we can also see some policy change from the government in the recent years. For example, 2 or 3 years ago, the one-child policy was abandoned. Okay. If you look at the year the policy was abandoned, that's exactly when the intercept was achieved in about 2015. But if you consider that when these people getting to the working age, that will take another 25 years, which means from 2015 to 2045, the decrease is still there. But after 2045, there is an increase in the young people. So we'll see this increase again in the future. But as I said, this policy implication will take effect in more than 20 years. Right. So the question we ask now is why the policy was not abandoned, say, in 2000 or even in 90s. If we adopt that policy change in 90s, then we will not have the decrease here. Right. So that you can see economy or the economics is not only about how quickly the country is developing or how GDP is growing, but also about the future development or the future direction of the country. And in the past, we always claimed that the development was achieved because the low cost, especially the low labor cost. For example, about $100 wage per month in 80s. But now it's been double, and double again. So the labor cost is not cheap anymore. And that's why we can see some of the manufacturing business was moving out the country from a couple of years ago, about 2000. When we talk about the saving rate, we mentioned the saving rate is the second strongest driver to the country's development. Okay, if we look at the saving rates, it's almost always higher than 30%, and in recent years it reached 50%. Why there is a high saving rate? Because we believe that when we mentioned the GDP, the composition of the GDP was consumption, investment, okay, government spending, the difference between the import and export. So high saving rates also means the low consumption. There is a low consumption, but why we still say it's a driver for the future development? Because the saving will later transfer into the investment. Okay? And that's why we believe in the past, the development of the Chinese economy is more about the investment driven. We will have the comparison between the Chinese economy and the US economy as well. And it's obvious that the US economy is more consumption driven. Now, this is the example or the evidence. We can see that the consumption rate of US is always high, between 60 to 70%. The saving rate is low. But if we look at China, the saving rates, the consumption rates is always dropping, even lower than 30% level, far more less than the US economy. And that's one of the most obvious difference between the Chinese economy and the US economy. One is the consumption driven, one is the investment driven. Of course, there are complex backgrounds for this. For example, Chinese people like save money, right? For example, the Chinese government will initiate a lot of investment projects. Okay? Those are the reasons. And this is another evidence that shows what's the implication for the high saving rate. We can ignore the later part of this chart, but focus on this first three. Private consumption in neighboring countries, they are much higher than the Chinese. Government consumption, neighboring countries slightly more, but gross fixed investment for Chinese is much higher. What are these gross fixed investments? For example, the highways. For example, the high-speed trains. Okay. Infrastructures. These are the gross fixed investments. And that explains why in the recent years, or in the recent dozens of years, the infrastructure of the country is really taking off and becoming, well, if you go to the airports, train stations, well, all these public facilities, you can see that they are massive. Okay, even airports in third-tier city is even larger than the international airports in most of the capital cities in the world. The role of the government, that's the third drivers we mentioned. The general growth was 7%. Of course, we reached the stage that the growth is getting slower and slower. And in the 2018, the projection of the growth is around 6.5. Of course, comparing to the developed countries, this is still huge growth, but it's decreasing. Urbanization rate is still accelerating, which means the rural area people, they are moving to the cities, and that will give still a round of growth to the future. Adaptability of labor force. We mention this is because of the movement of the labor force between the west to the east. The east is the coastal area, or what we call the more developed area. In the past 30 or 40 years, the population was moving from the west to the east. Okay. And from the rural area to the city areas. And we can see that the blue is the urban percentage, and the red is the rural average. And they reached the 50% interception in about 2010, which means that after 2010, there are more people, they are living in the cities comparing to living in the countries. In the following two slides, we compare the different business cycles. If you study economics, you understand that every business has their cycles, and every country has their cycles. The booming stage, the growth stage, the recession. The dark ones are the recessions for the US economy. For example, if we count these recessions in US from 40s to 2010, there were 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 recessions within these 70 years, which means that on average, less than 10 years, there will be a recession in the US economy. But if we look at the Chinese economy, at the end of 80s, there was one, but there was no recession after 80s. One. the government spending is one of the reasons. And this is the statistics for the gross domestic products for China. And you can see it starts from 60s, almost zero, to reach the over 7 trillion US dollars. Okay, different sectors. In your economics, we always mention that a more developed economy system will have more third sector business. For example, US. The third one is almost doubling the Chinese economy. But if we look at the primary, secondary sector, what are the primary, secondary? They are the agricultural, manufacturing. If you look at manufacturing, that's why China was called the factory of the world. Okay. The manufacturing is more than double of the US. Even for agriculture, it's 4 or 5 times. And in the future, of course, we can expect that the third sector will be becoming more important in the Chinese economy. This is interesting. How many of you have studied the concept of PPP in your economics? No? Purchasing power parity. No. For example, I don't see a bottle of water here. I used to give the example of the water. I don't mean I need the water now. But if you see the price of the water, it may be $1, $1 US in US. Okay, it was $1 in US. But 1 RMB in China. They are the same kind of good with the different prices, which means that in US, the price is about 6 times higher than China. That's why when we look at the GDP, we look at the actual exchange rate and the PPP measure. So, if we look at the PPP measure of the Chinese economy, it's much higher, about 4 times higher than the actual exchange rate. And that's why World Bank published the report claiming that in 2016, the Chinese economy has overtaken the US economy and become the largest economy in the world. That's based on the PPP measure, which means that it's based on how much you can purchase with your product, with your GDP. Okay. I think that's a good concept, and you need to study it if you are interested in economics or related topics. Personally, I'm not a lecturer in economics. I'm in accounting and finance. I'm more in accounting and finance. I got a PhD in finance and got the CPA Australia. So accounting and finance is my specialization. But economics is important. It's macro. Okay, what we are introducing now is the macro economics. But in accounting and finance, we focus more on the micro thing. For example, the firm level, personal level, finance and accounting. So if we look at the growth, right? For the Chinese economy, the growth is centering around 10% from 80s to 2010. Of course, I said it's decreasing to the 7.5% or even lower than about 6% here. But still, if we compare the growth here with the growth in the US economy, in US the growth rate is typical growth rate is around 1% or 2%, and sometimes it will close to 10 or even negative. And we can conclude that two countries are in the different growing pace or the speed. Okay. Savings. You can see in US, the savings mostly from business, 70% versus 42%. In China, that's different. The story is that the government and the households will have the higher saving comparing to the US. Those are the contributions from the government and household to the economy. And this is one of the important reasons. This is I divided by GDP. As we mentioned, GDP, the composition of GDP, consumption, investment, government spending, difference between the import and export. So this is the investment. The investment rate is keep growing from 70s to 2010, grown from 30% to 45% and even higher, close to 50%. That's the contribution from the investment to the overall GDP. And that also proved our conclusion that the Chinese economy is an investment-driven economy. Three main types of investment. For example, gross investment. You can see a huge difference here. 19% versus about 50% of the Chinese economy. And if you look at the decompositions, of course all these numbers are higher, but the non-government fixed gross investment is 20% higher than the US. Government gross investment more than 5% higher. Change in inventory, we can ignore this part. So either the government or the non-government tend to spend more in investment. Of course, we also have to understand that although we mentioned non-government fixed gross investment, but among these non-government fixed gross investments, there are some of these investments are made by the governments, but not directly. Okay. These are the areas where the investment goes into. And electric power, public highways, railways, petrol, coal, postal, agriculture, public infrastructure, others. So you can see if we classify these different investments, the biggest, except for the others, are electricity, public highways, railway, and other public infrastructures, which means all this, well, most of these investments goes into the infrastructures. Okay. Of course, that will bring the future growth to the economy, but those are the drivers, one of the important drivers of the growth. These are some interesting questions to ask, and they are a good or good and interesting questions for you to study as well. For example, if we look at the financing and nominal returns, equity, and debt. For the equity return, the return is 13%. The debt, 3.4%. And at the same time, inflation, 3.4%. Which means that if you invest into the debts, there is no return, virtually. If you invest into the equity, there is a high return. Okay. So, which suggests that if we are rational, we tend to invest into the equities. What are the equities? Stock markets and the other equities, other than the debt financing. So the question is there any bubble in the economy? Especially that we saw the housing price increase a couple of times comparing to the prices 10 or 20 years ago. We always worry about whether there is a bubble in the housing price. But is there really a bubble or not? Let me ask my colleague. Is there a bubble?
I don't know, honestly.
Okay.
Really, I don't know.
Okay. But the fact is, you are keep investing into the properties. So I think if you ask the Chinese people whether they think there is a bubble in the housing price, possibly this is the answer. We don't know. The housing price is well, it was doubling every couple of years, so it was scary, but people are still investing. Of course, there are different reasons for that. We don't have the time to explain all of them, but in fact, we can study the supply side and the demand side. Okay. As you study the economics, there is always supply side, demand side. All right. Supply, demand. If you have the interception, that's the equilibrium. All right. That's what you study. And if there is no interception, that means that it's not equilibrium. Then there must be problem. So in the supply side, there are more and more state-owned enterprise going into the housing market, which will drive the housing price up because they take the land for high price. Of course, they will sell in the higher price. But if you look at the demand side, as we explained, the massive urbanization. The urbanization rate was increased from around, say, 30% to now 50%. And if you consider the population of China, about 1.4 billion, which means that there are about 500 million people moving from the countryside to the cities. So you can imagine that the demand is increasing rapidly as well. Okay. Another reason is that the income, as we explained in the previous slides, the income was double and double and double as well. So the income was still increasing. So these are two sides. And we look, well, what we need to look at is which side is stronger. For example, we need to identify whether the urbanization is continuing in the future 10 years or 20 years. If it is, then possibly the housing price will not, well, at least will not go down. And these are more about the monetary policy, so I'm not going to explain more about the monetary policy, but you can see that the government is issuing huge amounts of money. Okay, so the price increase is reasonable, I think, given to the increase of the currencies issued. These are about the banks. The comparison between the Chinese bank and the US banks. Policy implications of the banks. These are all the policy implications of the monetary policy. Okay. This was news report in 2015. As we mentioned, there was only one recession in the past. What was the reason? Because the monetary policy was used to stop the recession and bring it back into the growth in the past. But from 2015, the stimulus will shift from the monetary to the fiscal policy. That was an important policy change from the 15, which means that, well, basically, or simply speaking, in the future, the government is not printing out the money and injecting into the entity, but with the more flexible fiscal policy. For example, the taxation, these are the policy change. Shock absorber, this is the, we explained there is a shock absorber in the Chinese economy. What is it? In 2008, I'm not sure whether you know about the 2008 and 2009 financial crisis. Okay. In 2008 and 2009, the Chinese government issued the 4 trillion stimulus package to rescue the economy from the recession. And it was a success in terms of the growth, because in the following years, the growth is continuing. But of course, some of the economists argue that that was not successful, because most of the money was not going into the real economy, but going into the stock market, going into those housing markets. And let's see what are these destinations. Most of the money goes into the infrastructures. The second highest, post-disaster reconstruction of Wenchuan. That's the post-disaster construction of the earthquake in 2008. Housing guarantees, technology innovation, rural constructions. Those are the main areas. The stimulation package was going to. Okay. And we may argue that if it goes into the infrastructure, it goes into the post-disaster construction, goes into the technology and innovation, goes into the rural construction, it will have the impact on the future growth. But if it's going to the housing, it's not. And we can also look at the how to finance 4 trillions. That's a huge amount of money. Okay. how this 4 trillion was financed. 30% was from the central government. 70% was from the local government, state-owned enterprise, policy bankers. And remember that in the previous slide, one of the previous slides, we explained that for those non-government expenditures, some of them are initiated by the government, including these state-owned enterprise and policy banks. The investments from these enterprise and banks are also influenced by the government. What this stimulating package brings to us. For example, that package was launched at the end of 2018. And we can see that from quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4 of 2009, the growth was rapidly increased from about 4% to over 15%. If we consider the inflation, that's still higher than 10% level in 2010, quarter 1. Okay. Which shows that the stimulating package is functional. It makes the economy grow in the following years. But again, we still criticize that whether this stimulating is efficient or not. The CPI recovery, if we look at the CPI data from 07, 08, 09, 10, and 11, these are the negative CPI index from end of 08 to end of 09. And we can see that the CPI was brought up above average quickly after the stimulating package was issued. So our conclusion is that if we compare the Chinese economy and US economy, there are some similarities. Fiscal surpluses, GDPs, over GDP is around 6%. Monetary growth, double. So, which means if you study the US economy in the recent, after the crisis, the US issued a policy that they will issue more money. Okay. But you can observe that the Chinese is also printing about the same amount of money comparing to the US, which makes the exchange rate comparable. The difference is that the Chinese economy is more investment driven. The US is more consumption-based driven, including the tax break and income transfers. We always have the lessons to learn from the economics of the different countries or the different practice. For example, one of the lessons was the financial crisis was a short-term setback from long-term goal for both countries. It was true, but how to deal with the crisis, the way of dealing with the crisis was different in two countries. Fiscal and monetary policy in China are more direct and therefore effects in time of the crisis, but the transmission mechanism is an even weaker tool in China, which means that the stimulation is more direct, which leads to the more immediate results. That's similar to if you are getting ill, you can take the Chinese method or the Western methods. And it was saying that the Chinese method will take longer, but will make your body healthier. But if you take the Western medicines, that will make you recover soon. Okay, that's similar. If you look at the Chinese, but in the different direction, the Chinese stimulating package is more direct, and it will have the impact basically immediately. But whether it's healthy to the economy, it's a question. Am I spending too much time? Okay, sorry about that. We got a lot to share, but it seems that we don't have the time to go through all of this. Let's finish this session by explaining how the Chinese economy is developing, what are the key drivers, and what's its impact to the world, especially the world economy. I think with the increasing level or increasing percentage of the Chinese economy counting to the global economy, there will be more important or more significant impacts from the growth of the Chinese economy. I hope that you benefit from this lecture, and if you're interested about this content, and we can share more after this. Thank you.
Thank you. So now it's my turn. I will talk something totally different from here. So I will talk about the university information only. Before I speak, I know Professor Xiaoming already asked you, have you been to China? Who has been to China? No, none of you. Oh, that makes me feel much more confident, so I can tell you whatever I want to say. Trust me, what I said here is right. Don't listen to the internet. I will share with you the XJTLU experience. Don't worry if you don't know how to say the name. It takes me a while to speak the name XJTLU. It's a short name for Xi'an Jiaotong Liverpool University. So who we are? Our students. When you can see here, there's a university in UK called University of Liverpool. Have you heard about University of Liverpool? Thank you. So I will save some time to explain. But University of Liverpool is part of the Russell Group. If you really care about ranking, the University of Liverpool ranking by QS 2018 is ranked 123, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So it's quite high-ranked university, and the UK is considered as like the best research university in UK. Then there's another university called Xi'an Jiaotong University in China. Have you heard about Xi'an Jiaotong University? No? So Xi'an Jiaotong University in China is like, it's a group C9 by Chinese people. If I got accepted by university, like by Xi'an Jiaotong University, my parents would be so happy, feel like I got accepted by Harvard. That's the status of the Xi'an Jiaotong University in China. So by Chinese people, we consider Xi'an Jiaotong University as a very high status, prestigious university in China. Then back to 12 years ago, these two universities met and get married. Like us and Binus, we met and we tried to set up some exchange programs. But they did something much better. So they set up a brand new university called Xi'an Jiaotong Liverpool University. A long name, but that means like we had it takes a two strong part from our two Chinese, like from our two partners, UK and China. So when you look at the data here, there are some numbers and factors. We are the largest international university in China. I understand Binus is the largest in Indonesia, like you are fairly big. And we are quite big in China as well. It's not just about the number of student size, also about the university size, etc. So we got like over 10,000 students in the university, and we have over 60 degree programs, which will be a good news for you. That means if you want to study for one semester with XJTRU, as long as Binus agree with your module choice, you can pick up any subject you want to study at XJTRU, plus some extra cultural activities, plus some Chinese language skills. So that will give you a very nice experience in China. The degree covered from architecture, engineering, business, and our business degree basically cover marketing, accounts, finance, etc. All sorts of business degrees. Location. Some people said we are located in Xi'an. Please know we are not in Xi'an, and Xi'an is quite far away from us. We are located in Suzhou. As you can see from the pictures, this is our university is actually somewhere out there. So this is like the modern part of Suzhou. Our university is located in the Suzhou Industrial Park. By saying industry, we don't mean it's all the factories, but mean all the business opportunities. There are over 2,000 international companies in the area, and there are over 200 incubators in that area trying to help the startup businesses. And when you look at here, that's the old part of Suzhou. So the old part of Suzhou has 2,500 years history. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to ask him some questions after that. And I didn't bring any gift, but I can give you my name card for you to claim when one day you come to China as an exchange student. So listen carefully. So Suzhou is a city combined with modern and tradition. These are some factors and numbers. This is where we are. So it's very close to Shanghai. Students who fly from Jakarta to Shanghai will take you 6 hours usually. I fly from Shanghai to Jakarta, take me 6 hours, and I probably paid $300 US for single trip, which is the regular price if you travel by China Eastern. If you travel by Garuda, probably similar price. A round trip between Jakarta and Shanghai by Garuda Airline or China Eastern, if you book very, very early, it will cost you around $500 US, even cheaper if you don't mind with the transit. So that's the cost to travel to China. From Suzhou and Shanghai, it's only 25 minutes away. Later, if we have more time, I can show you some video. If we don't, go to YouTube, search Xi'an Liverpool University. You will see all the videos about student life. You will see all the videos about Suzhou rather than I show you here. There are some indicators that whole Suzhou, like whole economy in Suzhou, how strong it is. In general, in a conclusion, the economic growth in Suzhou, when you look at the GDP here, well, basically Suzhou is bigger than Australia, so it's bigger than the size of Australia. I understand a lot of Indonesian students going to Australia. Oh, sorry, Austria. Oh my bad. Excuse me. Yeah, so again, it's quite big and it's very wealthy city. In terms of GDP growth, it's always a top 10 city in China. So it's a really wealthy city and also very, very safe. If you may know any Indonesian friends study with us, if you don't, you can ask me for their contact details. You can also ask them, says, hi, how do you feel about Suzhou? They'll probably give you a much better story than I could do here. There's some numbers about Suzhou. Again, the Yangtang River Delta economy is the other side of Italy. When we talk about Yangtang River Delta, we are talking about Suzhou, Shanghai, and Nanjing, all the big cities around that area. So the life in Suzhou. The life in Suzhou is, again, very, very safe, convenient. You will have everything you need. Recently, there's a big shopping center opened called Suzhou Center. That's the largest shopping center in Asia. For all my spring festival, I spend my time there, and still I haven't finished visiting all the shops. So that's how big the shopping center is. There are a lot of other restaurants and other like libraries and facilities and parks, museum, garden. It's very convenient for students to stay there. So why you should come to XJTLU for an exchange or for a master or for visiting? These are some factors and figures for you to consider. First, if you're coming to XJTLU, let's say if you finish your undergraduate degree, you are considering to do a master, XJTLU offer you a degree from University of Liverpool. That means without flying for 10 hours to UK, just in China, you learn Chinese culture, language, and a UK degree from University of Liverpool. All the courses are conducted in English. That means you will not have to learn Chinese. Like a lot of China universities have to have an HSK 5 to be able to do a degree in China. But our university, all the subjects are taught in English. You have no problem to start at any program at any time if you're well planned. Suzhou, again, it's a very modern city, and we got the world-class facilities and a lot of international communities. Our university has students, faculty members from nearly 70 countries. So you really find students from different parts of the world. And more importantly, you will definitely learn Chinese while you study in China, especially for students who want to come to XJTLU for one semester or 1 year visiting. You will have the chance to select some Chinese language modules to improve your Chinese skills. Classroom interaction, etc. We'll skip here. You can see a video later about the university facility. This part I want to make a special emphasis is about the university quality. When you pick up a university, what kind of so question is, when you select a university, what are your key considered criteria? What is the most criteria considered when you pick up a university? Huh? Accreditation, thank you. And what else? Yes, brilliant. Let's look at the accreditation. When you pick up a university, quality is definitely one of the most important indicators. So here we got QAA. Have you ever heard about QAA? Great, I'm promoting for QAA as well. So QAA is the Quality Assurance Agency in UK. So it's basically like the Ministry of Indonesia that do all the university accreditations in Indonesia. So QAA do all the university accreditations in UK. And we get the accreditation, all other courses are accredited by QAA. That means all the course levels, the assessments, the standards are exactly the same as any university in UK. Then we got AACSB, which is a top accreditation body for all business schools. And we are actually the youngest business school in the world to win this accreditation. By getting the AACSB accreditation, means our university business school is the top 2% of the business, or among all the business schools globally. That means you are using the international benchmark. Then we got ACCA, is an accounting accreditation body for students who want to become a professional accountant. You can study our BA accounting program or master accounting program. We got sanctions from ACCA as well as ACA. We didn't put it here, but ACCA and ACA are accredited. Then we have engineering accreditation, architecture, biology, and chemistry. I'm not going to go through details because my understanding is all the group here are actually from business school. Mostly from business subjects. So focus on the ACSB, ACCA. Again, you could Google it after the presentation, see if the university is really like a good quality university. Our student route, so most of our students can do 2+2, and the opportunity for you sitting here will be study abroad opportunities. That means you can come to our university for 1 semester exchange, and later you may check with Audrey for details about how you could actually come to our university for 1 semester exchange. Alternatively, you can come to our university for 1 semester visiting students, which is exchange will be limited, like you have to probably learn something about your program, visiting will be much more flexible. Again, check with Audrey for details, see how you can become an exchange student with XJTLU. And top 20% of our undergraduate students actually go to the top 10 universities globally. So that means when they finish, they go to Cambridge, Oxford, etc. for their master's degree. So that means if you could spend like one semester within XGHU, that will also give you a very, very good credit, very good chance to write on your CV. You started at XGHU for one semester. We provide a lot of services. When you come to China, some people might think, oh, China, I've never been there, what I'm going to do? But no worry. We offer you services like visa assistance, arrival, pickup, accommodation booking, and the university itself has over like 7 restaurants on campus, so catering, accommodation, etc. will not be a problem for you. Key services and subject area. This is not something you want to consider. So we've got all subject areas here from architecture, engineering, up to business. And for business degree, if you're looking for master business degree, we have economics, management, finance, investment management, project management, as well as others like MSc management, MDress management. If you're looking for a PhD, you can go for a PhD. I got a brochure here. Later on, if you're interested, come to collect the master brochures. This is the undergraduate degree names. Here, check to see if any match your requirement. And this will be the master degree programs. Chinese language. For any students who want to come to China to learn a Chinese language, we offer Chinese language from 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, including one semester. So you could plan your time carefully as well if you want to do a Chinese language. The Chinese language will be like interactive classes, very small size, covered from beginner. If you don't speak any Chinese, which is fine, you can come here from a beginner level. If your Chinese is already very good, you can come here to join our advanced level. But we do have different Chinese language programs available. The Chinese language usually starts from every March and September. Then we have summers. The summer courses, once you have a free time in summer, we offer 2, 4, well, I understand it's summer all the time in Indonesia. So we offer you 2, 4, 6 weeks summer courses within XGHU according to your Chinese level as well. So if you want to improve your Chinese, this will be a brilliant opportunity to come to learn. Visiting, which we just explained, this is how the campus looks like. So this is the library, as you can see from here. This will be the overview of the campus. The whole campus design is very modern, combining the concept of Western and Eastern together. These are some Chinese labs and teaching facilities, sports facilities, and catering, accommodation. All the accommodation are single bedroom with private bathroom. So it doesn't matter, we have different type of accommodation, but it doesn't matter what kind of accommodation you choose, it's always single bedroom accommodation. Admissions. This is probably not so relevant considering you are already a university student here. But just in case you're interested in a master, we are looking at GPA 3.0 out of 4. And an IELTS 6.0 up to IELTS 6.5, depends on which subject you want to apply. Not relevant. Fees is not relevant for you if you're looking for exchange program. Again, come to Audrey. Later on, if you have any questions about XGHU fees. Okay, while they're looking at the questions, do we have any questions about our university you may want to ask? Yes.
Do you have any course that is with social, economic, or politics?
Social, politics, economics.
We don't have the program like politics, but we have the China study. That's a program, international relations. We have that program. In terms of the economics, we have a couple different programs in economics. economics and finance, pure economics, which is a more academic program for economics. Those are the two master programs for economics. For undergrads, we also have economics and finance and pure economics as well. But we don't have politics and economics.
There's a question for you as well. Yeah. Actually, I was about to finish. It's just the next slides will be thank you. So I have done my presentation. It's just the slides want to move down.
You explain the fees.
Yeah, so these are the fees for undergraduates, and for master graduates, different. It's like really depends on what kind of master program you're looking for, and also depends on what kind of subjects you want to study. And this is Chinese language, some courses, if you want to come to China for Chinese language. We do have you want to take a picture? We do have very attractive scholarship available. So if you want to come to China for master study, we offer entry scholarship up to 50% of the total tuition fee, which is purely academic based. So what we will do is we will look at your academic transcript and your personal statements, plus your recommendation letter. Then the master scholarship panel will actually make assessment, says, hi, okay, this is the fee you can offer. Roughly 40% of the applicants receive the scholarships. But if your academics are very good, for example, you got GPA 3.4 or 3.5, I would say most likely you will be able to have a scholarship. And the visiting fee, it depends on which credit you want to choose, which subject you want to study, and that really depends on what kind of subject area and how many credits you want to choose. And the exchange will be totally for free, and we are working on the agreement to see how we can offer students exchange opportunities. Yeah, so these are my contacts. Just in case you want to have make any questions in the future, you want to visit our campus, feel free to contact me, send me emails. I'm more than happy to help you with your application to China. And I think it's time for us to answer some questions. And also I got some brochure here for our university master program information. If you later on you want to collect a brochure once we finish the session, welcome to collect the brochure of our master program. I think I should pass to Professor Xiaoming for him to answer the questions.
Your email address is not correct.
Yeah, there's a slash here. So that's xiaochun.me. There's no slash here. So basically xiaochun.me. Okay. But the international email address I have access to as well. So yes. Yeah, shall we go back to the question the student asked?
Okay.
Wow, there's a lot of questions. Which one do you want to answer?
So maybe just before we close, because it's almost late, time for next class. So maybe we will choose 2 questions from Alicia.
Yeah, I think so.
And then after that, if anyone wants to ask question, 1. Anyone else? Maybe 2 questioner. Okay, so 2 questions from this, and then 1 question from the lady there.
Okay, which question should you choose then?
Maybe from the lady first.
Yeah.
So, hello, sir.
Yes.
I want to ask a question. You have mentioned that China is an investment-driven country. So, I want to ask your opinion regarding cryptocurrency, and do you think it is a bubble? Thank you.
I didn't give my answer to that question because I think it's still there is still a debate on whether it's a bubble. And for myself, I personally believe that if we are talking about the housing bubble, there is obvious housing bubble in the tier 3, tier 4 cities in China. But for the top cities in China, for example, Shanghai, Beijing, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, and Suzhou, I think it's fine. But for the others, there may be high risks associated. That's my question.
So maybe the next question. Which one? Indonesia is already transmigrating for distribution of the population, which aims at equalizing the economy. But economic growth remains uneven. What is your advice that the transmigration program should have an impact on the increase and equity of economic growth? Wow.
I think my own question can become president of Indonesia.
Maybe you can probably answer this from the experience of China, because China also experienced transmigrations from the rural area to the city area.
Yes, I think so. As I explained, the migrations of people from the rural area to the urban area to the less developed area to the more developed area will actually push the economy to the further higher growth. But that depends on whether this urbanization is sustainable as well. For example, how long it will persist. And if it will persist for a quite recent number of years, then the impact to the economy will be persistent. And that will be my experience from studying the Chinese economy. Yes.
Question?
Which one will you choose? China's labor force is shrinking.
In line with increasing working age population and increasing labor costs. So how's government solutions to that problem?
Well, that's also
President of China.
yes. That's also a good question for the policy implication of the current development stage. For example, the the labor cost is also high. The renting cost is also very high for the business. So I think the government and the academics are also proposing some of the treatments to this. For example, from a couple of years ago, there was some policies about upgrading the business or upgrading the industry. For example, from the pure manufacturing to the more technology-driven. For example, AI. Okay, AI-driven, the AI and robot-driven business. So that's a problem. That's a problem. For example, Suzhou. Suzhou was a labor-intensive economy before, but now it's also evolving from the labor-intensive to the more technology-intensive economy. So I would say it's a challenge. It's a challenge, but also an opportunity for the upgrade of the whole economy. So that I think that's the my answer to the question. Of course, there are some of the others, but I think that's the most important solution or the advice to the economy. Thank you.
So moving from the labor-intensive into a technology-intensive economy. Okay, I think we still have time for one more question. I'll give the chance to the floor first. Anyone wants to ask one question?
Or any question about the university or
any question
going
about the
to
university?
study in China?
I'm going to ask about China, about the crisis in 2008. As we know, 2008 is a global crisis for the world. But as you said earlier, China freed from that economy. My question is, what is your opinion about Indonesia? I mean, Indonesia somehow can free from those crises too, but we have a different case. China using investment to free, but Indonesia used the SME to free. My question is, what is your opinion about Indonesia? Can we replicate your way to grow our economy?
That's a good question as well. I think you guys are studying very well in economics. I think for the Chinese economy in 2008 and 2009, the question was the economy was heavily depending on the export. Okay, when the economy goes wrong in the Western countries, the export to the developed countries will drop significantly. That will have the significant impact to the growth because that will affect the country, affect the factories, affect the people who work for these countries and work for export. So the stimulating package itself is more about the internal development. For example, invest into the infrastructures. That's the investment internally within the country. So that's why it will offset the effect on the import and export. So I mean, in Indonesia, possibly this is the timing that the manufacturing business is also developing. So sooner or later, I would say the economy will be more dependent on the export in the future, say 10 years or 20 years. That was the stage China was developing. So what we can assume is that you will have the situation that you will expand the manufacturing business or in manufacturing industry in the following years. But when you are more developed with this manufacturing business, you will more rely on the external. External, for example, the global economy performance. Is the global economy is getting, the increase is or development is getting slow and slow, then you will be affected. But if the economy is growing, the global economy is growing, then you will have the chance at this stage. But of course, the further stage will be as I said, like what we are trying to do in China now, to upgrade the whole industry to the more technology-driven. I think that's one of the development philosophy and path for the countries. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so I think this will be the end of the lecture and also the session for today. Thank you very much. Let's give a big applause. If you have any questions about the campus, please feel free to contact her. You have her email. If you want the brochure for the masters, who's on the last year or final year of the study? Tahun terakhir? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we have around 15 million people. Okay.
So I have two types of brochure. One is for master and one is for study abroad in China. So for this one, for any student who want to do an exchange, a visiting, come here to collect. Anyone who wants to get a master is here.
Okay.
Yes, that's all. Thank you very much.